Oh, I'm starting. Welcome back, beautiful people. Welcome back, beautiful people. It's your boy, your girl, your everything, Tre'vell Anderson, okay? Oh, wait, I'm supposed to say welcome back to FANTI, the place where, the complex and complicado. Hold on, y'all. It's the first week back. Slow your roll. Hold on. Welcome to FANTI, the podcast where we have complex and
complicado conversations about the gray areas in our lives. That is Tre'vell Anderson trying to figure out what exactly we're doing right now. What's happening?
Okay.
It is a very different kind of episode for us this week. I am Jarrett Hill. I'm excited to be back with y'all. It has been quite a while. We've been away for a number of weeks on a bit of break. I wouldn't really call them vacations, but breaks nonetheless.
I call mine vacation, honey.
I didn't call mine vacation. Mine was just like I didn't have meetings. And I was able to sleep a little bit more.
Hate that for you, friend.
Listen, and I hate the love you give. But I would say that... Wait, is it The Hate You Give? What was the movie called?
The Hate You Give, which is based on a fabulous book.
There we go. Okay. We've been away for a little while, and so we've been excited about coming back for this big episode. But while you've been away, what were you doing?
I was minding my business.
I know that's right. And drinking your water?
Do you see this skin, darling? Do you see it? Do you see it? I mean, she's glistening today. Anyway, during the break, I mean, there was part of the break where, I was still working. I think the last episode we did was from NABJ, and I believe that was NABJ or right before NABJ. I lost the election. Mm-hmm. And then did a couple weeks of work and then took a couple weeks off. Went to Big Bear last weekend, prepping for Beyonce this weekend. Okay.
Hey.
So yes, that was my break. What about yours?
Mine, like I said, I took some time where I wasn't with people in my face and was able to sleep a lot more and watch a lot more TV. I watched so much television and film and just slept a lot. My body was just like worn out. And since then, we returned back for school last week. I'm back in the classroom now teaching at USC.
Hey, Professor Ogilvy.
I hate you. And so I got my new students last week. So we had our first class, and now we're kind of like back off to the races for that. And this past weekend, the reason I'm tired, I feel like we're always tired, but like I didn't really have this weekend off. I drove to the Bay Area and back. My dad's 60th birthday party. And so I drove up on Saturday morning, was there for the party on Saturday, had breakfast with them on Sunday morning, and then drove back Sunday afternoon. So I've been rolling here.
Well, that sounds self-imposed, but nevertheless, we persist.
Self-imposed? I mean, it was the parents' 60th birthday. Like, I had to go. Like, you got to be there for that.
But you drove instead of taking
I drove because if I would have flown there, I still would have had to have gotten a car and driven for another hour or two. And like, it would not have been easier to do that. And
they live in the suburbs.
Right. And so it wouldn't have been like a better trip for me to take it that way. So I was like, I'll just drive straight there.
Okay, let's get into this episode. Like Jarrett said, this is a special episode. We've been telling you for a little minute about our aquatics journey. Okay, and so this is that episode. We're jumping into it. We took lessons. Go ahead, tell the people, Jarrett, what they're about to get.
Yeah, so normally we write FANTI scripts ourselves, and we kind of know what's going to be in each segment. But all we know right now is that we showed up on 2 separate days in July for these different swim lessons that we did, and that there were lots of different cameras and microphones, and then we took some time off. And so we came back. And the producers have been bringing all these different pieces together.
Yes. Okay, so this is the long-awaited, much-hyped aquatics episode. If you're listening on the podcast version, then what you're hearing is available to everybody. Okay, y'all not special. All right? It's going to be available on the YouTube as well. Okay? However, there will be some, fabulous footage that is private, okay? That is only for the financially contributing members of the FANTI fam, okay? If that is you, shout out to you. You will be getting access to that. If that is not you, okay, it can become you very easily.
This feels as close to having an OnlyFans link in our bio as we've ever gotten. Like, it's very close.
I mean, I mean,
What we like to call BOCO or bonus content, one of the reasons we're able to do bonus content is really because of our financially contributing members. And if you're not such a member, you can go to MaximumFun.org/join, and then you can unlock the BOCO and see us unclothed in the water,
yes,
in slow motion.
unclothed. If you don't cut it out, if you don't cut it out. And for anyone who doesn't know why we are doing this, let's take a little trip down memory lane back to March of this year.
No, let's revisit the trauma inflicted on me on camera.
If we get to 500 new or upgraded milk,
Okay, wait, hold on, wait. I don't know that we actually agreed on this.
We're doing it. We're doing it.
We talked about it.
We're doing it. If we get 500 new or upgrading members by the end of the Max Fun Drive, okay, Jarrett and I, who both do not know how to swim, we will learn how to swim and we will document a portion of that journey for the Maximum Fun members as bonus content.
So we reached out to the founder of Black People Will Swim. Her name is Paulana Lamonier, and we were able to get an idea of what we were getting ourselves into. Her organization's mission is to smash the stereotype that Black people can't swim by teaching Black people how to swim.
Yes. Now, Paulana is based in New York City, so we weren't able to take classes from her, but she gave us a whole lot to think about. We had our conversation with her on July 11th, which was the day before we risked our lives, okay, to try to swim and get ready for the race war. And so Jarrett kicked off our conversation by giving her a little bit of the backstory of how we got to that point.
They ambushed me on the air, Paulana. They ambushed me on the air. Okay. They were like, oh, if we do this, we'll do the swimming. I was like, hold on, wait a minute now. Hold on.
Sometimes you got to do that. You know, if you wait till the person agrees to it, it might not ever happen. So, you know, I got you.
And also, I'm thinking about our future, okay? I'm thinking about our ability for when the race war takes off, okay? We need to be able to, you know, handle ourselves.
Okay. We will swim.
Okay.
We will swim.
That part. So that's the background. And we literally have our first lessons tomorrow, you know, the day after we're recording this. And so we're coming to you at that point in our journey. And so many of our questions will, you know, come from that perspective. But to get us started, as if I have not been going on for 2 minutes, I would love to know how you learned to swim. Like, what's your journey when it comes to the water?
Yeah. My journey with swimming, my parents put my sisters and I in a summer swimming program just to keep us out the house and keep us occupied.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I met a lot of my longtime friends through the summer program. And from there, you know, we would go every summer to the, you know, high school pool. And then afterwards, I, you know, got older. I forgot to learn how to swim certain techniques. And then I ended up joining the college swim team. And then from there, my college coaches took me under their wing. They taught me what it takes to be a swim coach, taught me like the techniques of being a really good swimmer. And then from there, I just started working for like junior Olympic swim teams, the YMCA, public pools, really just sharing my passion for swimming with Black and brown children and making it accessible and really just having fun, right? And then now, you know, 10 plus years later, we have Black People Will Swim, which started off as a challenge, which we'll get to in a little bit.
We will get to that. I kind of am interested before we get into like how we got here with Black People Swim. Like, what are the conversations you've been having with people about Black people and swimming, even back to when you were a kid and up to now?
It varies, right? You know, we talk about the racist stereotype. We talk about the barriers.
Mm-hmm.
Then, we talk about the joy and the freedom and the liberty and the access that swimming provides, right? And so that's how Black People Will Swim was birthed. We think about what are the barriers that are preventing Black people from swimming, which is why I called it Black People Will Swim, because it's not a matter of whether we can or we can't. We have the physical abilities to do so, but will we swim despite it being inaccessible, despite, pool facilities are not being upkept and maintained like white country clubs or white, pools in white communities, right? And then, of course, there's the lack of education. I'm not saying that Black people are uneducated. That's the last thing I'm saying, but really lack of education when it comes to our hair. There's a huge learning curve when it comes down to how to take care of your hair when it's in braids, when it's in a protective hairstyle, what products work, what products don't work, what is that hair hygiene. And so now there's enough brands that are providing products, that are creating services to making sure that we are protecting our hair no matter what sport you're doing. So the conversation varies, but we want to always remind them that this is a safe space to learn and face your fears.
Can I follow up on something there for a second? You mentioned hair, which is a twist I didn't see coming in your response. What has the hair experience been like for you over the years throughout your swimming experience?
It's definitely been an experiment, to say the least. And the reason why I say experiment is because I'm trying and figuring out what hairstyles not only works and is to my convenience, but also make me look good. Okay. I got to make sure it's light, period. Okay.
Okay.
Period.
So for me, I'll come in with some cornrows with my natural hair. But if I have a trip coming up, or if I know I'm going to be teaching classes, especially during the summer, I'm always going to stay braided up and making sure that I'm washing my hair. I'm putting treatment in as if my hair were in braids.
Okay, I'm gonna take a slight tangent really quickly. I do that often, Paulana. It's fine. I read somewhere that you used to be a journalist or are a journalist.
I still am. I love telling stories. I love informing people, and that's kind of like the birth of Black People Will Swim, right?
Tell us that story.
So I was a journalism major. I graduated with my degree in journalism, and I wrote for publications like Forbes, Fast Company, Essence, Madame Noir. And so I'm interviewing people in the entertainment industry, trailblazers who are creating paths for themselves. So it's from Queen Latifah to Venus Williams and her interior design company, V-Star, which a lot of people don't know about. It is, writing for Her Agenda, interviewing Yvonne Orji, Molly from Insecure. And then, of course, telling the stories that really also matter, that are important, which is highlighting Black women in Black stunt women, and how they also face their own disparities. A lot of people don't know, but white men would blackface and put Black makeup on and put wigs on just so they're not giving Black women job opportunities, right? And so creating and highlighting, and that story came to me when I was watching Black Panther. I'm like, I can only imagine the number of Black stunt women that were afforded job opportunities after watching Black Panther. And then I realized that the disparities that they face in the industry. So those are stories that I'm always constantly telling. But now I'm switched gears a little bit and telling stories in a way that really matter the most, which is saving lives.
I love that.
So how did you decide that Black People Will Swim was something that you wanted to invest your time and energy into, with that kind of background in journalism and really translating that into this?
Oh, so that's a good one. So I'll start with Black People Will Swim and how that challenge started. I wanted to teach 30 people how to swim one summer. And then from there, I tweeted it out. The tweet went viral. And then I was like, okay, I'm liking what I'm seeing here. I'm on to something. I hired my sister and my cousin to co-teach with me. And then that's how we kind of formed Black People Will Swim. As far as, there was one story that stuck out to me, and there was a young lady, she said, I can't swim because, Black people can't swim because our bones are too dense. And I'm like, where did you hear that from?
Oh my God.
Yes.
Oh, that's like Black people can't get COVID.
Right.
Y'all remember that?
True. That was true at one point.
And
then we got it. And then it was like, yeah.
Right. Exactly.
But yeah, so she was like, Black people can't swim because our bones are too dense. I'm like, where did you hear that from? And then I did my research and realized like, okay, there are stereotypes that prevent Black people from swimming, but it's not far from the truth because
Mm-hmm.
the Jim Crow era, the separate but equal doctrine. So you have nice pools in white areas, then you have just the pools that are there that are, in certain areas. And there's so many stories that, when you hear about the hotel where when the Black family went into the pool and then the pool owner started putting acid in it, right? Or
Mm-hmm.
there's another story where once they started
Mm-hmm.
integrating pools, where they were allowing Black people, they shut the pool down and put cement in it. So now no one has access to pools because
Mm.
Black people were
Yeah.
now afforded the opportunity to swim access in certain places. And so that's where my journalistic skills, okay, came from.
Yes.
Because in order for me to provide a service, I have to understand the history behind it. I can't do interviews and educate people
Mm-hmm.
on these drowning statistics and not understanding the court rulings, the laws, the stories that take place, and most importantly, the drownings.
Yeah, I feel like when we were preparing for this interview, Jarrett loves a statistic. He loves a data point. And so we found this USA Swimming Foundation and University of Memphis study that says 64% of Black children cannot swim, 65% of Black children would like to swim more than they do, and 78% of Black parents have no or low swimming ability, which obviously increases the likelihood that their children won't have good swimming skills. And I don't think nobody in my family can swim. We not water. Well, we're water people in terms of like we like to look at it, or we like to go to the water park
Okay.
type situation, but we not swimmers per se.
Okay.
We'll put our feet in. And so I just say that to say, right, like that's why I don't know how to swim. And then somebody tried to teach me how to swim and then they threw me in and it wasn't good.
So,
Yeah, I had one of those experiences.
so if we're unpacking our trauma, I should say,
While we're at it,
listen, if we're here, no, like I was thinking about this knowing we are going to be talking with you today. And like, this goes two different directions for me. So like one, I remember being in summer camp. You talked about going to a camp and like learning how to swim as a kid. And like, I know for myself, I was at a camp and I can't even remember like much about the camp, but I just remember being at the pool one day and like someone pushed me into the pool and me being in the water and like being so nervous and like flailing and thinking I'm drowning. And then later realizing like, oh, I could have stood up where I was, right? It was only like 3 or 4 feet deep. You can drown in 3 inches of water, right? But like you can stand up and be okay. But like I didn't know that in the moment. I was just horrified thinking that I was dying.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second piece of that is I remember getting a job at Six Flags Marine World where I was an announcer and I was hosting this show. And like I went through the audition and I got the job because, of course. And like I get there and on the first day, they're like fitting me for a wetsuit and all this other shit. And I'm like, now what is going on here? What exactly are we doing?
mm-hmm.
And they're like, oh, well, when you dive off of the thing into the sea lion pool, you'll swim over to the thing. And I was like, now, wait a minute now.
What?
Because ain't nobody ever mentioned this in the job posting, in the audition, in any of this.
Yeah.
And like we had to modify the show for me to be able to do it. But like I always had like this feeling of like inadequacy. I always felt like I wasn't really doing my job well because I couldn't get into swim. And like they wanted me to jump off of a 10-foot thing into the water. I was like, now look here. Okay. Like that's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
And so like I've always had these things around swimming where I felt like I was kind of like pushed into it quite literally or figuratively. So as we're going into this tomorrow, getting ready to start our swim lessons, I'm like, okay, I'm just not thinking about it, right? I'm like kind of putting it off to the side.
I'm just showing up.
Listen, right? I'm just going to be out here. I'm going to be fine. I don't like my head being underwater. I don't like all these other things. As we're getting ready for this experience, what are the things that you would normally talk with folks about, like about how to prepare themselves for learning how to swim?
I think to your point, the biggest thing is really showing up. You're showing up, You are trusting yourself. You're giving this a chance. And that's what I really want you to continue to remind yourself, no matter if you have a really, really bad day or really, really good day, or you just didn't get it right, just continuously to show up for yourself, because swimming is a lifelong, life-saving skill. So as you keep taking classes, you're not going to get it all. You're not going to get it right within the first 50 minutes. You're not going to get it right in 6 classes. I constantly remind my students that. So if you feel like, I'm having a hard time, it's okay. You're showing up for yourself. You're giving yourself the opportunity to learn this life skill. It's going to take time. So that's what I want to remind yourself. And then also trust your instructor as well. I will say it really depends on the type of instructor you do have. So I make sure that I ask questions. I get to know the person. What is some past trauma that you've experienced? Is this your first time learning how to swim? Is this, how do you feel comfortable? Can I touch you here? Can I touch you there? I let them know that, hey, I'm going to be making these movements with you. And so you're not caught off guard, because swimming is really an intimate sport, right? So you are going to be in people's personal spaces as well. So that's something that I do let people know. I'm going to touch you. I'm going to touch your neck. I'm going to touch your lower back. I'm going to touch your legs. And so some people may not be comfortable with that, but I just remind people, once again, to trust yourself, continue to show up, and trust the process.
All right. Trust the process, Jarrett. I saw that deep breath you just took.
Yeah, I saw the face.
Right. I'm like, oh God, we're about to do this, huh? Okay.
You got it.
Okay. No, I'm fine. Everything's fine. Don't you feel fine? I feel fine.
It's fine. It's fine.
Everything's fine.
I have one last question before we let you go. And that's like, what has been the response? Like, you've, taught all these people how to swim now, right? I even before we decided to set out on this journey myself, I had heard about, your organization and the work that you all are doing. And I'd love to hear you just, speak about like, the impact that you feel like your work has had.
Yeah, I think people don't realize how much of an issue this was in our community until it's brought to the forefront, right? They're like, oh, I've always wondered why we don't really be swimming, or I've always wondered why there's only one of us in the Olympics. So it's until you bring it to their attention, that's when they see that it is a problem. But the responses has been great. It's been overwhelmingly like just really happy that we've created a safe space for them to learn this skill, to learn from somebody who looks like them, and really just for them to be comfortable in themselves, right? So that's been the positive side. And, as a journalist, I got to talk about the negative side too, right? So with us, it's been tough because it's been a lot of demands, right? A lot of like requests, high demand, but not enough product or people. So there is a national shortage of lifeguards and swim instructors. And so we'll have a wait list of like 200 people who want to learn how to swim, and we can't service them because we don't have enough instructors, right? So that's one of the issues. And then two, last week I was hit with this is why people are hesitant to support Black businesses. And it's just like, keep in mind, we're providing a service that is really expensive, low cost. We have a small team. And so I just want to enlighten people on, be mindful of the burden, not the burdens, but the pressure that you're putting already on small Black owned businesses. You would never say, this is why I don't support Steve Jobs. This is why I don't support Apple. You would never say, this is why I don't support white owned businesses. You would never say that. And so why is it that people think that it is okay to say, this is why I don't support Black businesses? Why is that? We're already underfunded. We're already undersupported. We don't receive enough capital or space in the industry. And then I'm in a white-owned space. So there are people who own these companies that are literally, oh, you know what? We'll let the Black girl go ahead and do what she got to do. She's really not going to impact us. They're bringing in $90K a month off of swim lessons. That's something we would do in 4 months. You understand? So I think I really want people to understand, of course, as a customer, that's not the first thing you're thinking about. Like, oh, let me be mindful. That's not. But I really want people to leave this interview being a little bit more empathetic and mindful when you are interacting with businesses, to not say, this is why I don't support Black owned businesses. Because you would never say that to a white owned. And you can't, because they have the capital, they have the resources, they have the people.
Period. Okay.
So we're doing the best we can. Like Mariah said, I'm doing the best I can with what I got.
Can I ask one more thing? Because I feel like there's a listener who's probably listening that's like, that was cute, y'all. All right, well, I got to go do something else, right? But maybe maybe kind of considering it or thinking like, maybe. What do you say to that person who is not feeling like this is a valuable thing for them, or that they maybe next year, or like how do you talk to folks about that?
I remind people all the time that swimming is the only sport that can save your life.
Hmm. Okay.
It's the only sport, only activity. Really think about it.
I'm sitting with that. I'm running through them. Yes.
Yeah, really think about all the sports. Like, yes, they could be life-changing sports, but they
Mm-hmm.
can't save your life, right? So in the
Mm.
event that there was a flooding, in the event that something happened at the beach, could you save yourself?
Hmm.
If you can't, if the answer is no, then you really should look at the first, find some swim
Mm-hmm.
lessons, the closest and cheapest or affordable swim lessons you can find in your area and sign up.
I mean, damn, girl. Well, you won. All right. Tell people where they can find out more information about Black People Will Swim and how they can connect with you.
You can find us at blackpeoplewillswim.com at our beautifully, designed website. All right. And we have a swim test. So if you don't know what skill level you're at, you could take the swim test on our website and you'll see what's your skill level. We make it really accessible and engaging for the everyday person. And if you want to know more information about us and like the updates and, things like that, make the promise. You go on our website, make the promise that you'll learn how to swim, input your information. That way you'll join our swim fam. You follow us at Black People Will Swim across all platforms. And as for me, my name is ITS Paulana, Paulana.
Paulana, thank you so much. I'm anxious, excited, nervous, curious, a lot of the different things, but very excited about this possibility and what we're working on.
Thanks again to Paulana and Black People Will Swim for being part of our aquatic journey. Now we're going to take a quick little break, and when we come back, we will finally do it.
All right, I gotta say, I'm excited about this week's sponsor because it's someone that I've pitched because I use it so much myself. And I was like, we've got to get them on the show. And with the busy fall season just around the corner, you might be looking for some wholesome, convenient meals for jam-packed days. Factor is America's #1 ready-to-eat meal kit and can help you fuel up fast with chef-prepared, dietitian-approved, ready-to-eat meals delivered straight to your door. You'll save time, eat well, and stay on track with your healthy lifestyle. Refresh your healthy habits without missing a beat. You can choose from more than 30 weekly flavor-packed, dietitian-approved meals ready to eat in about 2 minutes. If you're too busy running around with all kinds of things to do during the day, I really tend to love Factor because the meals are all delicious. They're readily available. I can choose the ones that I want. If I'm on a diet of some sort one week and on a different one a different week, I can switch from keto to be a vegetarian, or I can do the chef's choice. I love Factor, and I think that you will love it too. If you're interested, head to factormeals.com/FANTI50 and use the code FANTI50 to get 50% off. That's code FANTI50 at factormeals.com. That's code FANTI50 at factormeals.com/FANTI50 to get 50% off. You're going to love it. Welcome back to FANTI. So as we mentioned before the break, after our interview with Paulana, we met with the producers and they kind of briefed us on what to expect from this shoot. And they also got us to talk about how we were feeling about the first lesson coming up the next day.
Jarrett's nervous.
I'm not.
Okay, Jarrett's not nervous.
I'm horrified. I don't think nervous,
Captures it.
Right. No, I'm anxious about it, but like it's a normal anxiety of like
doing something new.
I'm going to be doing something I haven't done before. Right. But I'm excited. I'm curious to see how long it's going to take to kind of like pick up, whatever skills. I've never been like a head underwater person, and like I try to make myself do it whenever I'm in the water and stuff like that. But like Paulana talked about breathing and like breathing in your mouth and breathing out.
I was shaking my head because the putting your head underwater thing. Oh, I don't like things up in my nose. Okay.
But I should say, like, I'm also like looking forward to that, not being afraid of that or not like having that, anxiety. And so like, all of those different things are kind of like moving around in my head, but I'm like, oh, this is exciting.
I'm looking forward to it. That's for sure. Have some of the same similar feelings that you mentioned, Jarrett. I'm always concerned because I'm like, I'm blind as a bat without my glasses. And so I'm like, how's that going to work?
The good thing about water is that you're in it because it's wet. So you don't even have to see anything. You can feel, and like that's one way to know, like, oh, I'm in water. Wait, why did I suddenly fall? Like, and I'm wet. Oh, I'm in water. Okay.
Laura, I think you've just fixed all the issues that Tre'vell was having. That was really helpful.
And water is blurry anyway, so there's no difference. There's no difference.
There we go.
As you're saying that, that's reminding me, like, as a kid, we used to go, like, camping in the summer. We would go, like, we'd drive up into camp, what was it called? Whatever the lake was. And, like, our family had, like, jet skis and all types of shit. And, like, they'd be out in the lake and in the water. And, like, I would always do it, but I would be, that vest, that life vest would be tight, okay? Because, like, what I did not want to do was end up out in the water.
A lot of the Black people I know who can swim, learned it in school. Like, it was like part of their, like, compulsory. Yeah, it was like they had to learn it in order to graduate or whatever. But like, like I said in the interview with Paulana, I don't think anybody in my immediate family can swim. They did try to teach me once, but like I said, it was throwing me in the pool, and it wasn't even a pool, to be clear. It was at a water park.
That was attempted murder, I think. I think that's what happened.
I can say that Palmyra and I are very excited to be with you on this swimming journey. And I just want to reassure you, nothing bad is going to happen because, of course, like, our jobs kind of do depend you staying alive.
Laura said, but like, we now own this company and we want to be able to stay at it.
All right, so that's how we were feeling the day before the first lesson. Then we got an email from Palmyra, okay, with all the details telling us where to be, what time, all this other stuff. And we were told to be at Miss Judy's house, okay, in the hills of Baldwin the next day by 2 p.m. Okay, Palmyra found this app called, this like website. It's like an Airbnb for pools where people, you can rent out their pool by the hour. Miss Judy gave us the recommendation for our actual swim instructor.
I met Jordan on Swimply. He reached out to me about scheduling time to use my pool for swim lessons, and he's been regularly booking my pool since May, and he's great. He's really nice. He's really patient and seems to work really well with his clients, and so I actually have referred him to some of my friends that have kids that they want to have swim lessons with, and some of them are adults and are nervous about swimming. So I felt really confident referring him to them.
Hi, my name is Jordan Hunter. I am originally from Phoenix, Arizona, and I have been in and around water since 18 months old. And I have been in and around water throughout high school, took it into the United States Navy, became a search and rescue swimmer for 6 years, and then got out, moved to Los Angeles, and now I get to teach people to swim and also open water swimming and got people into the world of triathlons. So if it has to do with water, I probably am trying to do it.
Seeing the pool, meeting me, I'm sure you're thrilled like I am.
Excited.
How does this compare to how you normally train people on swimming?
Pretty much the same. I walk into everything like aquatic therapy. So the biggest thing is meet you where you are.
Okay.
Ask you to talk through things. If you're ever nervous or scared, try to explain things to you.
Okay.
Slowly but surely, and we make progress where we can.
You said if you're nervous or scared, this is like aquatic therapy. I've been in therapy since I was 9, so that means something to me.
Unfortunately, you only have what you've been taught sometimes. And a lot of people have the mindset in and out of the water of sink or swim. And so time in and time out, I hear when I get on the phone calls with people for consultations and I'm like, do you have any traumatic experiences around the water? 3 out of 5 usually say, well, I was thrown in the water as a kid and they told me to swim and kick my feet.
What is kind of like your process of getting people ready to learn how to swim?
Biggest thing is just like therapy. We start over by literally starting on the stairs, ask you, again, from phone consultation till the first time I see you, has anything changed? How are you feeling right now? How are you feeling this week? Because, you can be eager and anxiety, and now you're just, I have to do this. And now everything up here is stress. So then we might just spend a little bit of time walking in the water, just feeling comfortable, feeling yourself. So the first couple steps is, where are we at? Do you feel comfortable in the water? And a lot of times you're not going to feel comfortable. So it's like, okay, I'm not going to ask you to swim to this pool, so just give you a heads up, and I'll say it again when they get here, it is from 3 feet to 11 feet. But the biggest thing is we're going to spend a lot of time on the shallow end because we might not have the progressional time or make all of the steps to 11 feet today. So we meet you where you are, we work where we are, and we do it with what we can in the meantime. It's a life skill to be able to swim, especially as a man of color. I understand that the stereotypes and systemics and also opportunity aren't always on our side.
I'm going to ask you an impossible question, but I want to ask nonetheless.
Love that.
Do you really anticipate that after our 2 sessions together that we'll actually be able to swim? I know that.
Have I done it before? Yes, but it's all about who's coming up, because it's here. It's a governor in the mind. So the moment we take this out of your mind for swimming.
Hello, governor.
Yeah, and and we can get into the nitty gritty and the physics, but same way you just walked in here, right? You're walking. We're going to turn your body on a different axis, and I'm just going to tell you to walk. And that's how you kick with your face in the water. Small things like that, It's nothing that you've never done before. It's just now we're going to change it to being a different dynamic, a different aspect, a way of perspective. Usually when I start with new clients, I always say, give it 3 tries. Let's see where we're at. I'll tell you where you're at. And if you want to continue to work, then I'm here for you. If not, I'm going to give you other resources to continue. And it's about progression, not perfection, is the biggest thing. If we get our faces underwater, but we couldn't kick today, cool. We know what we can work on next time. Now we got our faces in the water and we kicked. Cool. Let's try to learn how to back float. Wow, we just learned how to back float. Now let's walk over to where we can't feel the ground anymore. And so a lot of times it's just going back to that childhood time of I don't know how to swim, or I was never taught how to swim the correct way. And now it's, hey, I have an idea of how to swim. I'm gonna go ahead and just put you right into lessons instead of throwing you in the water, instead of doing the sink or swim kind of concept, and really giving the opportunity for them to learn in a safe space or a professional space.
So Tre'vell was on the way. I think they had stopped to get a manicure or coffee or something. I don't know what they were doing, but we decided to just get on in the water.
I was late because I got so many jobs. Hey, Jordan, how you doing?
Feeling well.
Oh, I'm here.
How's the presidential campaign, man?
You don't want to know. Now, when you walk out of, Miss Judy's living room to her backyard, it is a beautiful view of the area. You can see downtown in the far away. You can see Hollywood over there. Just like, oh, these people got money, honey. When you go to a house and you just say based off of the view alone, these people got a couple dollars.
So the area is called Baldwin Vista, and or some people call it Baldwin Hills Estates. When I first moved here, it was predominantly white. We were one of the first black families purchasing a house up here, but the white people were moving out to the suburbs. And so through the years growing up, it was pretty much became a black neighborhood. Thus, I guess the name, the Black Beverly Hills, because the houses are pretty expensive and really nice. It's great because it's centrally located to everything. And it's just really beautiful.
And so, me, because I recognized that I was late, I just jumped straight into action. I changed my clothes. I whipped my things off and put my little hair in I had a swim cap, because, I wanted to look like Jarrett with the bald head. And, I jumped right on in because I was ready for the ready. Mm-hmm.
Any traumatic experiences around the water?
Yes, they threw me in the pool to try to.
Oh, yeah.
We were the. Okay, got you. Okay, solid.
First of all, he was like, get comfortable with the water on your skin, get, comfortable with like gradually trying to get my head to go underwater like more comfortably. I can put my head underwater, but like it is something I don't thoroughly enjoy.
Just to put in the time and effort and to put in their faces in the water, blowing the bubbles, as crazy as it sounds, as funny as it sounds, it actually allows, I won't go into all science of it, but pretty much blowing bubbles allows you, when you're first getting comfortable, to not suck water up your nose when your face goes in. So just small things and small habits, so then when our body goes into fight or flight, it's in a safety versus, like a panic or a fear.
So it was definitely something that, like, in this process, I wanted to feel more comfortable and confident with just like having my head underwater for any extended period of time.
And good. And then when you take this next breath, you're going to go underneath. You got it.
Yeah. All right.
Good. Good.
That was great.
How'd that feel?
Yeah, it was the time of my life.
Okay. A little bit in the nose?
A little bit.
Coming up.
Sure.
Okay.
I think.
No worries, no worries. So a lot of times what that can
Oh,
mean.
and I just tasted it too.
Good. So it clears you out afterwards too. So it's another good one. So this is actually salt, which is a little bit better for a lot of skin than just chlorine.
Okay.
But a lot of times when that happens early on, is because when we were blowing, right at the end, we ran out of breath.
Mm-hmm.
And then the first thing you do when you run out of breath is at the
Right.
end. So sometimes just thinking it, and a lot of it is timing. A lot of the dance about all of this in swimming is timing. So maybe next time when we blow, you want to blow a little less, but then come up a little earlier.
Before I run out of air.
Before you run out of air.
Jordan also wanted us to focus on our breathing, the ways that we would breathe going into the water, the ways that we would breathe while we were underneath the water, or like the ways that we would like exhale while we were underneath the water. But he would also tell us about like what to do as we're coming out of the water. Those were things that I hadn't necessarily had before. They all made good sense, but I hadn't done it that way before. And it was helpful after a couple of times of like pulling water into my nose or things like that. The breathing piece was a really, really important part for us getting started. The thing that I remember the most from my first lesson was Jordan telling me to relax my face. There was a lot of relax your face, relax your face, relax your face, which I like woke up in the middle of the night hearing. But I remember that Jordan talking about, for me, like I will like tense my face when I'm like, anxious or whatever. And so relax your face was part of Jordan's telling me like to breathe, relax, to calm down. Similarly, like in yoga class, they'll say like, make sure your teeth aren't clenched. Make sure your tongue is on the top of your mouth, right? Like you want to relax your face and your body so that you can be more flexible and into what you're doing. And so that was like the thing that I remembered the most, because every time I like had to start going down into the water, I would start getting tense.
You were talking about shoulders, relaxing my shoulders.
So it's going to be a little harder to do because all of your I'm above water and I'm not stressed is right here, right now. So it's like right here, right?
You mean in my elbows?
Meaning like your arms are stretched out, like immediately straight out.
Right.
So you're going to hold a lot of your stress right here.
So once we continue to get past that, we're able to go a little bit deeper water, working on our back floating, working on just releasing control. Sometimes the biggest thing about water is we want to be in control, and physics is going to tell us differently. For a lot of people, when you ask them to release control, it is mayhem. And that's in and out of the water in life in general.
Felt that. So even as soon as you feel things like that, just tell yourself like, hey, I'm good.
That's a cue to...
That's a cue of like, oh my God, we're getting ready to go on a roller coaster.
Right, okay.
All right. So, yep. Good.
All right.
Yep. Good. Relax. Good. Relax your face. You're doing good.
So we started out with like trying to glide across the water, and Jordan would have us like holding his hands as he like pulled us across, and like it was very much like learning how to ride a bike with training wheels and like a person holding you from behind and like kind of going along that way. It felt like that being in the water, of like being able to like kind of gradually get used to like moving in the water, putting your face into the water while you're doing that. And then like him like slowly moving his hands away and starting to like try to do that on our own, on my own. And so that was like kind of getting acclimated to just like having more movement and comfortability in the water. And that was challenging, but also like it wasn't so hard that I couldn't do it. And I think it was like, oh, okay, check, we can do that. And it was the gliding piece actually, I think, kind of made me start feeling good. And then like we had to add kicking into that.
Not gliding, this is kicks.
This is kicks. So if you want to try putting your face in the water while kicking, you can. You don't have to do it the whole time.
Okay.
And I mean, you know, I've got a lot of legs happening, and I noticed that I had been kicking from my knees, and Jordan wanted me to kick from my hips, that we like kick my whole leg as opposed to just half of it. And that made a big difference for me being able to get across the water, and to like propel myself.
And kick. Good. Kick. Kick. Yep.
The tension, the fear, I think, was like making me kick from my knees, just like doing like little kicks, but like kicking from my waist or from my hips actually helped me to move and be an operable glider. Is that a thing?
So if I squeeze on your forearms, I'm just mentally telling you to check in with yourself and just take a breath in between. Take a breath in between. Take a breath in between. Okay? Good. Relax your face. You're doing good. You're good.
The biggest thing when I'm building up confidence for a swimmer in the water, whether it's 1 or 2 people or a swim team, is I just want them to see that you can do things if you break it up.
I'm going to be in front of you, and I want you to try without me helping or swinging your arms. I want you to now put it together in your mind how you think it looks and feels.
This is like aquatic therapy. The first session and that analogy, it was kind of like group therapy where I had them together so that I could see how they work together, especially as co-hosts and friends.
This thing, like I was explaining, is everything is about safety today. Everything's about meeting you where you are, allowing you to feel comfortable, allowing you to feel safe. So all we want to do is anything that you feel like you're comfortable and ready to do is what we're going to try. Mm-hmm. So I'm never going to push past anything you're like, hey, you know?
I'll let you know.
Yep, I got you.
So on day 1, we were both there, and so we were basically doing like a joint lesson, right? A couple's lesson, if you will. And so it was really interesting, I think, at least for me, to be able to, you know, see like with my eyes someone else like going through the movements, because I think it like helped. I'm a visual learner, y'all, okay? And so I think it just helped me like lock into some of the things that Jordan was pointing out about, you know, whether it was how we were kicking or how we were holding our hands or where we placed the tension in our bodies when we were trying to, you know, glide across the pool and stuff. And so it was a really interesting dynamic, to say the least.
Doing it together, I think, does and like on camera for you people, does add a certain level of pressure to like achieving and doing it correctly, or doing it, you know, doing it in a way that you don't embarrass yourself. But also Tre'vell and I are pretty comfortable in front of each other and in front of like camera and microphones, so like we're not gonna, you know, fake it. And so I think that the camera piece actually it was actually a little bit triggering from college, to be honest. I had to go on a story on a news on the air, like to cover ice skating, and I didn't know how to ice skate, but I had to get on the ice skates to do it. And this kind of made me think like, oh, the same thing of like, oh, I got to get in the pool and learn how to swim. And I don't know what I'm doing. But it was helpful because it's like, well, we got to do it. Like, this is the time that we've got allotted and we're doing it together. And so it was definitely helpful in that way.
I think one of the great things about this was like we knew we wanted a Black instructor because, you know, culturally competent, you know, instructing is important. Praise the Lord. And Jordan was perfect at like, you know, just like being able to use, for example, cultural references that like I think were particularly illustrative of like what he was trying to get us to accomplish. Like he referenced a drum line at one point in terms of like how our kicks should be.
It's not by how strong we kick; it's just about how consistent. Think of it like drum line.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now as a Morehouse.
Oh, but not too much. Not you know my story.
I know you been the Clark Morehouse battles and battle events. I want you to be like a drum line. Okay, so I want your kicks to go from to. I want you to kick this a little bit.
Like faster?
Yep, a little bit faster.
Okay.
Like drum roll, please.
But smaller. He did mention some rapper that I had never heard of, so that was a fail on the cultural competency part, because I don't know how much of the hip hop we are into over here, but it's all right. He redeemed himself later, okay, with other references. It was wonderful.
Yeah, Jordan had a number of sports references. It was like, I kind of get a little bit of what you're giving here. There were also like Christian and church references that Tre'vell and I would definitely recognize, having grown up similarly in that way. I thought the cultural competency piece was a really important welcome piece of the training, because there's a sense of familiarity with your instructor that like you can't buy or train or teach, right? That there's something that is just like a familiar thing. And that also kind of helps to put you at ease and make you feel a little bit more at home in this very otherwise awkward, uncomfortable kind of thing where you're in the water and trying to get acclimated with a new person.
Learning how to swim is a very intimate engagement, okay? And if you are like me, you also like to show off a little body when you are in the water, right? And so everything's just hanging out, okay? And when you are learning to swim, like somebody is all up in your business, okay? Holding your back, holding your legs, holding you at the back of your neck. You're in various different places. So it was interesting. Luckily, I'm very comfortable with all this jelly over here. And so if anybody was going to be awkward, it would have had to have been him. But he wasn't, right? Like he was super approachable, and made, I think, both of us feel very comfortable, right? In our bodies, in this experience of learning something completely new. And you really do have to, trust that man say he gonna keep you up when you go to float on your back. Because if you don't trust him, you're gonna be right at the bottom in a fetal position, hoping somebody come rescue you.
I remember when Tre'vell got into the water, they said something to the effect of like, "Oh, you're like right here," like or something like that, where it was like, "Oh, this is right here in my face," and like he's like right there, and he's like looking at you, and he's got your hands in his hands, and it's like, "Oh, this is like very close." Okay, and it was good to be doing it with someone who you immediately felt comfortable with, because if he was awkward or uncomfortable, or I didn't connect with him being right here in my face would have been really awkward, right? Or really uncomfortable, or at the very least, I wouldn't have felt at ease to be like pulled across the water with this person. And so it is a very intimate thing. And I think that as people are thinking about their one-on-one lessons, like being able to just kind of click with the person that you're having a conversation with, whether or not it's a race thing or a gender thing or whatever it is, but just like having some kind of familiarity, I think is really, really helpful. And Jordan was great with that.
Now, I struggled with a few very different things. I did some good things, elsewhere, but I struggled with a few different things. One of it was the breathing, because I don't really do too much breathing, out of water. By which I mean that I like the way I breathe normally is not conducive to swimming, right? Like you have to learn how to breathe differently when you're swimming, whether it's through your nose, through your mouth, etc. It was a lot. But I also struggled with back floating. Listen, you want me to act like I'm suspended in air on water? I should note that, I have a little bit of trauma around water. We talk about that earlier in the conversation and whatnot. And so just giving yourself to the water, in the back float, and then trusting this person I just met 15 minutes ago, was a journey. But nevertheless, we persist.
I was surprised at how quickly the lesson went and how like at ease I felt by the end of it. I know by the end of it, I thought like, oh, this is already over, and I didn't dread it. It didn't feel like, oh God, we still got more to do or anything like that. It was like making progress and feeling pretty good about that. I wasn't swimming by the end of the class, so I think I was let down by that, but I felt like it happened really quickly.
So day one went by fairly quickly, in spite of my 45 minutes being late, and I guess I expected it to be longer, but it was a significant period of time. I feel like we did pretty okay for that first day.
So for me, the way my schedule is set up, I really only be trying to think about what's on my calendar for that day and that week. And so after swimming was over, I remember feeling confident about like having done well, but I was trying to not have it in my mind a whole lot more, knowing that we had another lesson coming up and we'd be doing that. And I mean, like, I didn't have time to like go to another pool and try and work out my skills or anything like that. I was like, okay, it went well. Let's put it out of my mind. And so we have to go and do it again, and we'll deal with it.
So we had, I think, about 2 weeks in between lesson 1 and lesson 2. I didn't think about swimming. I ain't even gonna lie to you. Okay, I walked out of that first session and went back to my crazy life and walked back into the second session being like, oh, back here again. I wanted to try to find some time to particularly practice breathing underwater. That was one of the things that I wanted to work on. And I had told that man that I was going to go in my tub and fill my tub up and put my head underwater and practice breathing. I did not. So there it is.
Okay. This is a great place for us to take a quick pause. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to get right back into this whole aquatics journey that y'all forced us into. That's next.
The Greatest Generation, Maximum Fun's irreverent, filthy-mouthed Star Trek podcast is a big deal.
How big? It's the only Star Trek podcast big enough to have a live show tour, and we are inviting all Star Trek fans and Max Funsters everywhere.
We're calling it the Share Your Embarrassment Tour, and we're going to celebrate and roast Star Trek V.
That's the one where they kill God. We're going to be in a bunch of cities, and greatestgentour.com has all the info and ticket links.
That's greatestgentour.com for dates and ticketing info for the Share Your Embarrassment Tour.
Come share your embarrassment with us.
And grow stronger from the sharing.
Hi, I'm Travis McElroy.
And I'm Teresa McElroy.
And we're the host of Schmanners.
We don't believe that etiquette should be used to judge other people.
No, on Schmanners, we see etiquette as a way to navigate social situations with confidence.
So if that sounds like something you're into,
join us every Friday on Maximum Fun or wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome back, beautiful people. Okay, we are on this journey, okay, with the swimming.
We're back for day 2, and it's earlier in the day, so like the sun is hitting the pool a little bit better, and we are gonna have more time with like a warmer situation. I'm already happy, right? Swish has some little drinks and things on the side. They're already in the middle of an interview. I'm feeling good day 2. I've kind of like gotten myself into the headspace on the ride over, looking at the nice hills and all that. And I'm like, okay, we had a good time the first time. We're going to have a good time this time. Let's make the most of it. That's how I'm coming into day 2.
So day 2, I'm on time. I'm actually early, okay? Thank you very much, because y'all not gonna get me caught up twice, okay? I was there before Jarrett, okay? Booyaka. And then, yeah, the sun was in a better position because we were earlier in the day, so the pool was a lot warmer. Baby, I was shaking like I had low iron that first day. And I might really do have low iron. Who knows? Anyway, but the second day, the pool was warmer. And I just immediately changed into my clothes and hopped into the pool. I was ready to go.
Going into day 2, it's all about, one, making sure that they both wanted to show up and be there. So always showing up and just getting into a rhythm. You know, a lot of times we try something once and then it can be but they were both super excited to come back, as I heard in between the session 1 and session 2 that they were excited. So just getting them back there and kind of creating that safe space for them to continue to open up and be in an unconfident place. You know what I'm saying? Learning something that has so much traumatic experiences around it. You know, sometimes you have to have people buy into your philosophy.
Good. Now I'm going to hold your hand and just take your hand out and just relax. And just know you're in control of your legs. Good. Just breathe. Good. Just breathing. And keep your eyes open. There you go. Nothing changes from us being in the deep end to the shallow end.
Going into day 2, now my goal was to kind of separate them and allow them to be individuals in that space and in that time. So really just going into breathing, back floating, and kicks. That's always my 3 biggest things about water safety.
Kick, lock, good. Kick. Yeah.
For Tre'vell, we got onto our back float, and although it was still a fear, we were a little bit more warming up or welcoming to the fact of we're laying on top of the water. We were able to get our faces in the water a little bit quicker, which allowed us to work on, starting to use our arms more, starting to just feel that comfort of our face going in the water. And a lot of the pieces that we wanted to continue to progress on in Tre'vell's development was releasing of the legs and releasing of our body. Sometimes we are super, super tight. And when we hold stress in our arms or we hold stress in our legs, it will feel a little bit harder for us to kind of move. So it's almost like the deer in the headlights kind of analogy or concept, but like you're actually still trying to move. Or prime example, if you like lifting weights out there, when you're lifting up something that's super heavy and then all of a sudden you start straining, the stronger side is going to take over. And so for Tre'vell and I, a big piece of that was our kicks, strong kicks, but sometimes one kick was a little bit stronger than the other, which made us start to lean, start to rock, which then makes us feel uncomfortable, like we're falling over. For Jarrett and I, a little bit different. Jarrett had a lot of comfortability with his limbs and comfortability once we got our face in the water.
I was worried that going into day 2, it would be like starting over and, like kind of it's like riding a bike thing wouldn't apply. But it felt pretty easy to get right back into the water, one, because it was warmer again, and Tre'vell didn't have their self-diagnosed iron deficiency. But also, like, we had the opportunity to just kind of like jump into the water, like, okay, let's get started, and kind of like reviewing some of the things that we had done before. And like, it was much easier to jump right into the lesson than I expected it to be. And that was a bit of relief.
Day 2, listen, I treated these first 2 lessons like a job. You know what I mean? Like, I showed up, we got an hour, 2 hours, let's hop in pool, let's get it. I will say on the second day, we each got a little bit more independent focus. Like, Jarrett had his section for 45 minutes or so. I had my section for 45 minutes, and then we came back and did some things together. So I think that was helpful just to have some one-on-one. Type energy. So yeah, second day felt easier than the first day, for sure.
I also want to say, when I talked to Tre'vell before our second lesson, Tre'vell was like, oh shoot, I don't have something to wear. I might end up wearing the same thing again. And so I in solidarity with my co-hostrin and sistrin, wore the same thing again. And then they show up in a banana hammock or whatever with a meaty tuck. I'm kidding.
Well, listen, okay? Listen, a bad bitch gonna bad bitch. What can I say? Okay? All right. And so, like I said, I am someone who, when I go waterside, okay, I'm trying to live my wildest fantasies, okay? And so I've had to think deeply about which bathing suits I was going to bring because I want to be a professional first and foremost, okay? And, I can't just be doing too much jiggling, okay? But also, you can't hide what the Lord provide, right? And so, the first day, I had on a nice little orange number from a black-owned, bathing suit company. Everything was covered. And then, Jarrett is correct. I did say that I was going to wear the same thing, but I changed my mind because I forgot that I had some other bikini bottoms that I could wear that were also, respectable enough for the camera gaze. Even though once you get in the water, everything start riding up, honey. Okay, so again, if you want to see more, go to MaximumFun.org/joy to get access to the bonus content. Slurp.
So I'm in the middle of my lesson, and Jordan is Jordaning, and I can't remember if Tre'vell was already in the water at this point. I think Tre'vell was in the water with me. And, out of nowhere, I see, a little GoPro pop up out of the water, and then a person pop up out of the water, and I was like, oh, shit! Swish is in the water. Swish is like diving in and out of the pool. She has created a rig for herself in the GoPro. She's under the water. She's above the water. I don't know what I look like underneath the water.
I have to say that the MVP of this entire journey is Laura Swisher, okay, y'all, because she was all up in the water. She is, Mrs. Baywatch herself, honey, okay? And she was all up and under the water herself. Yes, the producer, okay? Under the water, getting all of these shots for y'all. Now, I look good whether it is out of the water or in the water, okay? And so, lucky y'all, and lucky her, right? Being able to see it live.
Shut the fuck. Lucky y'all. Hell. The thing I started to find clicking in the second session, Tre'vell did their session first, if I'm not mistaken, their one-on-one. And like I got to observe that. And Tre'vell made more progress in their one-on-one session than I did. And so like I was watching that progress and then going into my session. The thing that started to click for me toward the end was the joining of the gliding and starting to use my arms, right? And I mean, that's, some people might call that swimming. But like it was like being able to incorporate my hands with the glide and feeling it, like doing it for that longer span like we did toward the end of the lesson. I was like, oh, this is what this motion feels like, and this is what I need to be trying to accomplish. And so that's when it started to really click for me toward the end of the second lesson.
By the end of the second lesson, baby, I was swimming.
Listen.
Okay, but right now you can see it on the camera. Okay, everybody was stunned, myself included. By which I mean, we were able to go from one end of the pool to the other end of the pool. Now I was holding my breath for dear life doing it. Okay, but it was kind of enjoyable and wonderful and joyful to be able to be like, oh, I did a little something. Now could I save my life after the second day? No. But if I needed to make something shake, I at least would survive hopefully long enough for somebody to come get me.
Yeah!
Being able to swim all the way across the pool from the deep end, because we had to go down to like the 11-foot deep part of the pool and then swim to the shallow part. And being able to do that made it feel like, oh, this wasn't like a fluke. Like I didn't just kind of like pull it off and get away with it. It's like, oh, I'm learning something here. And like, I have some new skills that are growing, but also like I've gone through these 2 lessons and achieved something that I didn't know that I would ever get to achieve. Now, mind you, I'm not going to be in nobody's Olympic trials, but I can take some more lessons and keep going and get better. And like, I'm not going to be jumping in trying to save somebody, right? But like, I am feeling more confident being in the water. And like, I mean, it's always nice to have people clapping for you. So
there it is. Yeah!
So we did it twice. The first time, I think maybe I was just, surprised at myself, at my wondrousness manifesting in terms of being able to get from one end of the pool to the other. Then the second time, it was like, well, girl, you did it once, just do it again. And I did. And it was really just, listen. When you're doing something that you've never done, that you have some trauma wrapped up into, that like, in theory, you could die. Like we had to sign a waiver, y'all, that said you could die. And if you're like me, you actually read the things you sign. And so it was just really wonderful to be able to say after this second lesson that, oh, like I did a little something.
At the end of day 2, I had going into it again. I never put I'm going to make them swim at the end of day 2. They're going to be ready for lap swimming by the end of the time they're done with me, because everybody has a different level. But when they both said, we want to try going from this side to that side, and they did it individually and they swim across, I don't know. It's like seeing a kid take their first steps. Now I'm not a parent yet, and God willing that I get to become one. But I think that when you see somebody take such a like a milestone. Like coming in when I do the first consultation, it's like, hey, have you ever had traumatic experiences around water? What's your experiences? And you hear people that are 21 plus, we won't give out ages. I'll let them do that. 21 plus, and they're like, hey, I haven't swam or I've never swam in my life because X, Y, and Z. And you think of 2 hours, sometimes 3 hours. I think it was like 3 hours in total of swimming, just attempting to swim. And they're swimming across the pool. I was like, man, like, forget me in this situation. Like, give yourself kudos. Like, overcoming something, not because you never were able to do it. It was just telling your body and your mind that we can do it if we try. That was special. It was very, very special. And I think it was like a peer-to-peer kind of motivation, because once Tre'vell did it, Jarrett was like, I'm doing it too. Run it up. I'm doing it. I'm doing it. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't need to be clean and sexy. The fact that they did it, it's like riding a bike. Yeah, you don't have to ride 20 miles the first time you get on a bike for somebody to say like, wow, you could ride a bike now. They rode the bike down the street, and that's enough for me to be a proud parent, In this analogy, a proud swim instructor, but also just another proud Black person. You know what I'm saying? Like it's one more piece and one less person in the stereotype towards not being able to swim. It's still over 68%, I want to say in 2023, of African Americans that can't swim. So just again, being a part of somebody just wiping away fractions, and then one person might catch it and then they catch the bug. And then now sometimes it's not even them teaching. It's just them being like, yo, you're not going to not be able to swim. Go take lessons. I'll take care of it. Or you should. And it's just access and exposure. So yeah, it was very, very special to hit 2 for 2 in 2 days. Crazy, but God is good. I know that little kids aren't going to remember my name. Sometimes it'd be a great thing for them to remember Coach Jordan, but what's more important is I learned how to swim.
Tre'vell Anderson, we've gone through 2 lessons, and I think we kind of ate that. I think we both kind of swam, and it felt good to do.
Well, listen, Paulana said it, okay? Black people will
swim. Amen.
Okay? Now, I have a surprise for you and the people. I have taken 3 more lessons since we last.
That's not a surprise. You told me that.
Well, no, I didn't. I told you I was doing a lesson. I've done 3 more. Okay.
Oh.
Check me out. Okay. With Jordan at Miss Judy's pool.
Really, what we're hearing is Tre'vell and Jordan are dating at this point, and so that's really.
No, we're not. First of all, he is flaming heterosexual. Okay.
Okay. Make sure you're clear about what you just said.
Y'all heard me.
Flaming heterosexual.
Yes. Okay. But he's a good man, Savannah. And he's a great swim instructor.
I'm dealing with 2 things at the same time. One being a flaming heterosexual and what that looks like in practice. Like what it looks like to flame into a room as a heterosexual. And then just a good waiting to exhale reference is always welcome. I will say that it has, so you've gone and taken 3 lessons and you are on the U.S. Aquatics team. Is that right?
I mean, I'm giving you, I was trying to figure out the name of a famous Black swimmer, but I don't know none. So I got to say Michael Phelps.
Sha'Carri Richardson and Dominique Dawes. And neither one of them is a swimmer.
Oh, no. I'm giving you Scuba Gooding Jr., okay? If you know the reference, you know the reference. We see each other.
Okay. First of all, Scuba Gooding Jr. is not a reference to anything other than Cuba Gooding Jr. and scuba.
No, it is. No. Remember while we were away, the Montgomery boat brawl? The guy who jumped into the water and swam, that's one of the...
Oh, yes.
Yeah, yes. That's one of the things. Anyway.
I will say that I think that coming out of this, for people who know how to swim or don't, or excuse me, for folks that don't know how to swim, whether you're Black or not, but this idea of just jumping in and doing this was something that I have been thinking about since I was probably a teenager, right? And like have been afraid of and like telling myself I would do and would want to try and could see the value in it, but never did it, etc. And like now to like be on the other side of it and to be taking some lessons in the future here myself, I feel like I've accomplished something that I've wanted to do for a long time, and that feeling is probably the best feeling of all of the things.
Baby, I'm giving Under the Sea. I'm giving Ariel. It's giving Little Mermaid, the black version over here. Okay, I'm just kidding. I'm not that graceful by any means. And only at the end of my total now 5th lesson did I legitimately for real float. Okay, and I love that for me.
Okay,
I will say one of the tough parts about continuing to swim after those 2 lessons that we did together is just like finding the time and like prioritizing that time. And it helped that we were on a break, because that freed up my schedule to be able to, you know, drive to the hills of Baldwin from where I live, you know, every week or the times that I was going. And so it is a time commitment. That's the thing I want to say. It is a time commitment, absolutely. But I am super glad that we set out on this journey and that we twisted your arm, Jarrett, to get this going. And hopefully the folks who are listening and watching who don't know how to swim will feel inspired to get themselves some fins.
And if it's not swimming, it might be something else, right? Like another thing that you've been like afraid of or thinking of or for a long time wanting to do. Like it doesn't have to necessarily be swimming, but take the inspiration and go do something yourself and give yourself a chance to overcome something that you haven't done. We want to thank y'all so much for being a part of this crazy journey for us, with us, along with us in this process, as part of the Max Fun Drive earlier in March, and having this kind of impact in our lives. So we appreciate y'all for being here and being a part of it. We'll be back to more regular kinds of shows next week. We've got a Hot Topics episode because so much has happened while we were away. Tre'vell already mentioned the Montgomery brawl that happened, amongst millions of other things that have happened, all kinds of different stories. So next week we'll be kind of running down the hot topics of things that we didn't get to talk about. We appreciate y'all for being here. If you are watching us for the first time or checking out the show on YouTube for the first time, we ask that you go check out the rest of the show. We've got plenty of episodes, 3 other seasons that were all podcasts. You can go to fantipodcast.com for more information on that. If you have a comment or a suggestion, you can hit us up on the social media on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at FANTI Podcast, or you can shoot us an email to FANTI.
It's called X now.
Or X, Twex, to whatever. You can hit us up at FANTI Podcast, or you can send us an email to fanti@maximumfun.org.
And as always, okay, if you would like to become a financially contributing member of the FANTI fam, you can go to maximumfun.org/join. And if you do that, you will get access to some special bonus content from this aquatics journey of ours. Special shout out on camera to all of this footage that you're getting, okay, for this special episode. That goes to Valerie Moffat. As always, special thanks to our music person, Corey, COR.ECE, wherever you get wonderful music. Our graphics by Ashley Wynn and the folks over at Moonhouse Creative. Our editor is Anne-Marie Huber. Our producer is Palmira Muniz.
And our senior producer is Laura Swisher. This is a production of Maximum Fun.